The story opens up on a facility where people are killing themselves, and a young boy just walks through their middle who has like deadly eyes, and we are like, why is this boy comfortably working in the midst of people who are literally stabbing and burning themselves to death? But we see three children make an escape from a place called White Knight Village, and it turns out that these children were subject to experimentation. Yes, the government in this fictional community created a village called White Knight Village, where orphans and some kids were, brought in there to collectively, rear them and train them and educate them and let them live as one big happy family, unbeknownst to the whole world that these children were human experiments for a bunch of rich dudes in society who wanted to attain immortality. Yes, and guess who the chief scientist was? The mother of the boy at the beginning. So she had twins, and from her womb she had started experimenting on herself. Yes, she injected herself with the serum she was making because she was afraid her science project was going to be pulled and killed. So she injected herself, and then she had children, twin, a boy and a girl. And she said her greatest moment was when her son was born and he made eye contact. She knew that her experiment had worked. She was crazy and fanatical to get to the point where just not even her alone, there was another scientist that had collaborated with her over a period of years, because this movie kind of told the story of when these kids were 8 years old and 25 years later when we saw them as grown-ups. And 25 years later, she hadn't aged a day, and the scientist who had been working alongside her kept saying when he was eventually caught that I did not do anything wrong. He felt he had done nothing wrong after killing thousands, over 2,000 children, as using them as live experiment. As in, my heart couldn't take it at the time. I felt like crying, and I did cry at some point because it was ridiculous. How could you have killed your conscience to the point that you could not acknowledge anymore the fact that killing children and using children as live experiments was a criminal act and something that was wrong? Anyway, so we skip forward 25 years and the children split up. Apparently they lost each other through the maze of trying to escape, and everyone went their separate ways. One went to the US, one stayed behind, and one became a police officer. Yes, and then suddenly we started seeing people committing suicide, and imagine dying a vicious death and you are smiling. That's weird, right? So this different sets of people, one hung himself and was smiling about it, jumped in front of a speeding train, deliberately drowned himself, jumped off the building, etc., and so forth. And they were smiling. I'm not giving too much of the plot away, but you get the gist. Somebody was killing people, and we found out eventually that they were all linked to this foundation who had been secretly funding this experiment up until 25 years after, just because this group of people wanted to live forever. And I will not spoil and give you too many details, but you definitely need to go watch Awake, because these kids grew up with trauma, dissociative identity disorder, and a whole lot of other things that they had to go through. And one would have thought that over the years, this mother would have felt, some tinge of emotion at some point on seeing her children. But no, her experiment came first. In every single scenario she was in, her experiment came first. And it was all about her experiment. It was all about her succeeding in getting this thing out. Imagine someone dying of old age after 25 years when you should have died 25 years ago. Awaken. Every episode was like, it just kept bringing it. If you've watched Beautiful Goong, you've seen Hot Stove, you've seen the one about the employer, good job. I think it's Good Job. 12 years something. You know, there's this, what's his name? Kamnam, I think that's his name. If you've seen any of those series, then yes, he's the guy. He's the guy. He's the guy. You will definitely love Awaken. Please watch it. I guarantee you will love it. So I'll see you in the next one.